Okay, we're started. Hi there, and welcome back to our Friday, April 23rd episode of Between Two Teachers. I'm Madeline Cronenberg.
And I'm Consuelo Lara. Welcome.
And we are greeting you, as always, from the sacred land of the Chochenyo. I'm going to read it. We pause to acknowledge that we have gathered on the ancestral lands of the territory of Huichin, which is part of the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo and Kharkin speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland, Ohlone people of this part of this present and the past. And I finally have gotten that. It's gotten even more complicated. We were in another meeting and somebody had mentioned, remember that the Huichin people were connected, and what it appears is the Ohlone, it's the Ohlone people, it's the name of the people, but there are different linguistic dialects that each of the tribes in these different areas had, each of the villages had. So the bigger territory, this section of the Ohlone territory is the Huichin, and then within that unceded land, the languages are Chochenyo and Kharkin.
Ah, okay. Those are the
okay. And the Ohlones, these are we were on the East Bay, so it's the Muwekma Ohlone people. And the more we look at what we're doing, but it's important to be clear in the acknowledgements, and more folks, of course, are recognizing the importance of doing them.
You know, I was at another meeting where Devin Murphy, he was talking about the kind of, when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, that it really has some very racist background to it, you know, against immigrants and against, so, and then he did say also how important doing the, you know, acknowledgement. So maybe it'll take the place of that when we get together instead of doing.
Now that would be a really, really interesting conversation, right? And that really is what people need to do, is to raise it up.
Yeah, and give it. So thank you very much for bringing that. And that's.
Oh, there we are. That's our weekly land acknowledgement and celebration of our ancestors. So, I'm away from our pandemic, because the pandemic, we are sort of moving out of the pandemic. And in West Contra Costa, we actually even went back to school this week in our own interesting way. So right now around the country, the big issues that people are talking about as more and more school districts are returning to their classrooms are the role of the teachers unions in supporting children or not supporting children in their efforts to be careful about going back to the classroom. And there's a lot being written about that right now, whether teachers unions are scapegoats or bad faith actors in the reopening decisions. And more and more people are doing research on it. It's an interesting topic, but in the end, what we've seen, especially up here, is that there are thousands and thousands of school districts, and this is a decision that is not made at the state level. It's not like 50 state decisions or one federal decision. It's a decision that's made at each school district, each school board, and their relationship with their labor partners makes the decision. And that's why it's been so uneven, because there's a lot of different folks involved in that. So for reopening, there have been all sorts of ups and downs in the Bay Area. People are being, some districts are being sued for not opening. The governor put some money on the table that in order to to be able to earn, you had to bring students back in. But there are school districts like Oakland and West Contra Costa that were allowed, what their contracts did was say that the teachers could decide voluntarily whether or not they wanted to come in.
Mhm, mhm. It's voluntary. Yep.
Right. And so it's voluntary. So in some places where it's voluntary, everybody volunteers to come in. But it's voluntary. So that means that everybody isn't probably not going to volunteer to come in. And in West Contra Costa, at the last board meeting, the last numbers that they gave were 51% of the teachers were coming in.
Yep. Yep.
So that's 49%. And this doesn't mean this, we have to be all clear, we're still teaching. Everybody's teaching, 100% are teaching.
Did they say how
100%
many,
are
did
teaching.
they say how many students came back?
No.
Oh, okay. So
And that's also different from site to site,
exactly.
right? And you had the experience because you were back in the class. Now, are you going to be back on a regular basis or did you just go the one time?
I'm hoping I can go back on a regular basis. Yeah, for sure. So,
So what was it like? So you were a sub.
yeah, in the hubs, they have hubs. They have a morning hub and an afternoon
In the
hub.
the hubs that we've been talking about.
Yep.
And was this for students who were behind? I mean, you weren't actually teaching to them, right? They were still in the classroom with their own teacher on their Chromebooks.
On their Chromebooks. All of them had their Chromebooks. I think they did start with the kids that were behind or kids that special need or whatever, but I think it's going to grow. It's going to be more and more kids. And yeah, so there was just very few, but I saw people making phone calls, inviting people, come on, it's okay. And we can help you. That was the cool part, is that you could help kids with their work. And I saw one teacher told the kids, email the teacher that you're on with right now, email them and said, I did all this work and, make sure I get credit for it. And I was online. So it's good. It creates more communication and more interaction with the kids.
Right.
And they seem pretty happy. So DeLeon.
So you were at Richmond High, right?
I was only at Richmond High. Yes. So again, it's different. I see that some elementary schools, almost everybody's back. So it's just so different. You can't,
Right.
Does not fit all.
But even if everybody's back, that doesn't mean that even if all of your faculty are back, they can't accommodate all of your children.
That's true. That is true. You're going to have to either
right? Because you have distance learning. You have all of these, and that's the thing about this, right? When we can go back 5 days a week and not have to worry about distance learning, then we're back.
And we're back.
Right. But until then, it's just a different world, right? At El Cerrito High School, the two groups of people that were able to bring more of their students back were the VAPA teachers, who usually are not given preference necessarily. And it was because could both take all of their students outdoors. So they were playing the orchestra out in the quad and they were dancing on the tennis courts. And they were allowed to have 30 students because they were outdoors. But the rest of the students in El Cerrito were in classrooms where teachers knew that it was going to be much too much of a struggle.
Yeah. And you know what I did see at Richmond High, in the back of the room were these big, huge things attached to the walls, and those were air purifiers.
Right.
Great big old thing, because there's no windows in that school in the main building. There's no windows.
Right. Well, and there are buildings, in even the new buildings, there are rooms that were built where the windows don't open.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah. So
anyway, it's complicated. It's incredibly complicated. But in the midst of all of this, everybody is moving forward. The other interesting things that have happened, I've got some of these in here. is the districts that are losing or where there are changes in superintendents. Now, we have just at West Contra Costa hired a new superintendent, right, Dr. Hurst. But this week, the superintendent in the second largest school district in the country, Los Angeles, announced that he was leaving in June. Now, this is very short notice for him.
Wow.
I mean, this was like on Wednesday, this became public. And they opened this week, but Mr. Buettner said that, and it's interesting, that they've had, I think, 6 superintendents in the last 10 years.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a whole lot, right? There's all these issues around stability, right? So he is hopeful that they will hire somebody from within, somebody who had been part of his team. But who knows what they will do. Yeah, right. In New York, the largest school district in the country, they also had their superintendent leave. Remember, Mr. Carranza left, and he left with 2 weeks notice. He left in the middle of March. And he was replaced by somebody from within, because in New York, the mayor appoints the superintendent.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. And in New York, they're going to have a mayor's election in November.
Oh, wow.
So they're all saying, well, the new mayor, it doesn't matter. If you went and looked for somebody else, the new mayor is going to appoint somebody in November anyway. So they took somebody, the superintendent from Maisha Porter, who is the superintendent from the Bronx, and now she's the superintendent there. So anyway, because there's a lot of movement, and this is happening in the middle of people trying to figure out how to come back to school, and in the middle of parents being very frustrated and filing lawsuits. And some of those lawsuits are funded by the privatization people, which, because it stirs things up, right?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of stirring things up going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's called we've talked about it before, the disaster capitalism. You know, the more disruption there is, it's easier for privatizing to come in and take over. So yeah, that's what's happening.
Right. And in LA, they have a new group that they've called Worth More LA. Our kids are worth more, and they are putting together a class action suit against LAUSD and the school board for not opening sooner. And Worth More LA is funded by a charter school, Innovate Charter Schools, and the parent trigger organization.
Of course.
It's just completely the private side. So there's that. But so tell us what's going on at the county.
Well, at the county level, last meeting, we made a couple of good decisions. One is that we will record and post all of our meetings, board meetings and committee meetings and special meetings. So that was something that was really important to us. And so we got a consensus, and I don't know if we voted so much as just said this is the direction we want to go in, but it was on the agenda. So anyway, the other thing is, let me see. So we're going to, so we talked a lot about communication because of the recording of board meetings. And, many times I'm asked to share what's going on at the county level, what's going on at the and to tell you the truth, it's difficult to find because there's so many things going on. And the website is challenging, shall I just say that? For instance, here's some amazing things that are going on, but you really have to dig to find out, how do you register, who's it for, etc. Nicotine versus nature, the hidden poisons in our communities. And some of these are even social justice or, focus. It's like, I want everybody to know about these things. There was, this was, last week, an art convening. I would have liked to have gone to that. Okay, so there's the second annual Teaching Cannabis Awareness and Prevention virtual conference. I'm sure that's for teachers. It's about how to create that awareness. There was even a workshop on Dual Language Program Institute. That was for educational leaders and administrators. And then let's see, we got that one. Oh, a social emotional subcommittee meeting is going to be next Tuesday. That's important for all of us. They're also exploring computer science pathways and options for professional learning and curriculum. And that'll be the 29th, 4 to 5. I'm sure that's for teachers. Contra Costa Student Wellness Series also. This is the one I love, Hip Hop Action. Hip Hop for Action. So listen to this. Join Music Notes as they demonstrate how hip hop can be used to fight back against powerful businesses. See, social justice. Pop culture and other music forms that target youth with potentially harmful and even dangerous messaging. And so you get to do that. You get to create your own song. And it is sponsored by TOOP, which is the Tobacco Use Prevention Education Program. And it says here it's for ages 12 to 18. But I don't know of any 12 to 18-year-olds who are going to look for this. Well, there is a flyer. So maybe they're distributing, hopefully, to the schools. But that sounds like fun, you know.
They're doing a lot.
So we do a lot at the County Office of Education. It's just that people don't know.
I mean, it's
Best kept secret, aren't we?
Yeah. So we have to find ways to get you out there and make it a little easier to find.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We'll work on that. And I think that's it for now for the county.
So the big thing, other thing now that we're going to talk about is for Between Two Teachers and is activism, right? We talk about activism every week when we discuss the different action alerts, right? And so I put a little slide together that said who we get the action alerts from. And we get them from the California Teachers Association, from the National Education Association, the California Federation of Teachers, the American Federation of Teachers, the California Retired Teachers Association, the California Council for Adult Education, which is the adult ed teachers, and the National PTA. But also the network, so those are just in general regarding education. But then there are those who are specific, at least for privatizing and social justice. And those action alerts come from the Network for Public Education, the Journey for Justice Alliance, Create California, which is the arts education, Fair Test, which is all about testing, and the Poor People's Campaign. So those groups all have an action alert going at all times that are worth spending time just checking to see whether or not you've sent the letter to your officials, whether it's state or federal or local.
Yeah, so you can subscribe to them, right? And then
all of them.
Good.
Right. And I have all of the links. They're in the Trello. You just have to click on each one, and they're just right in there. That whole set of links for all of those, and you totally can subscribe to them. That's what they would like you to do. And the one that we're talking about right now has to do with testing.
Yes. So
NEA has one called Cancel the Tests. That's the effort that we're looking at. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that. So there's a forum that we're going to put together. So far, we've got a date of May the 16th. I'm putting together a panel to discuss all of these different issues around testing, standardized testing, and the history and the effects and the present day, consequences of these standardized tests. And, some of them, like the opt-out, that affects parents. Parents can opt out for their children, but there's always something in the larger scheme of things where we can support that. And that is, The
NEA, the National Education Association, has an ed action. I was just speaking about the ed action part of them. And they've got a goal of getting 100,000 signatures on a cancel the test petition that they want to team to the Department of Education, and have them understand that Americans no longer want to have our children spend all this time focused on high-risk tests. There's all these reasons not to, the social justice reasons, the racist underpinnings of them, the issues just simply that you're wasting so much of your children's educational time just teaching to tests. And you don't accomplish what you think you're going to accomplish. These are not set up just to make sure that somebody has learned the material that you needed to teach to them. They're an entirely different thing. So we're going to do an action alert webinar next week.
Next month.
Next month.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like just a couple of weeks. So look for that. We're going to be sending out information and producing a flyer and telling people about it, but we'll also record it. So it'll be available live on the Between Two Teachers YouTube channel once it exists.
Yeah.
So that's our big news. I do have a shout out. I just want to quickly give a shout out. So we found this week. Diablo Valley College has a Year Up program, and I want to give them a shout out. I think it's an extraordinary program. I hope it gets included in the offerings at Contra Costa College, but either which way, the folks at Diablo Valley and all the folks that they have done the work of partnering with, I think really deserve a shout out, because what this program does is allow students to get internships, to get among the courses that they get are project management, something we've been talking about trying to offer in West Contra Costa. And project management is underpinning of so many jobs, almost every job, because it just tells you how important it is to organize your time in your time management, trying to reach your goals. And that's just one of them. It's a very strong program. And I salute the people at Diablo Valley College for doing it. We had been talking about doing something like that, and then there it is. It exists right there.
Never have to reinvent the wheel. It's
No.
best practices are already out there.
No, it's a wonderful thing. And now I don't have to put any more time into that. I just have to say, do this. They've already, this is what we need to do.
And a paste. Are we ready for the joke?
We are ready.
Okay. I found a little Earth Day joke.
Oh, perfect.
Why did the cloud date the fog?
Why did the cloud date the fog?
Because he was so down to earth.
Oh, another great one. That's a good Earth Day joke. So
yeah,
happy Earth
That's coming up.
Day to everyone, and we'll see you soon. And put aside that morning, Sunday morning, in May, to join us for the webinar. Bye bye.